Some time ago on Instagram, I asked people what do they think about Terminator Genisys in a positive light. And I have this show called Devil's Advocate where I talk about movies that usually get bad ratings in a positive light. So today we're going to talk about these comments that I had over on Instagram and discuss whether or not I actually agree with the comments that are posted on the Instagram post. There are a few comments that I put within a question sticker on my Instagram story, so let's go ahead and start with those. Jason Clarke's performance as John Connor was solid. Yeah, whether you agree with it or not, I mean, there are some solid performances in the movie. I do think that Arnold was being a little weird because they were initially trying to force him to be the funny character, but Jason Clarke, he is a good actor, so I don't think that he did a bad performance for what he was trying to do in that movie. Arnie versus younger Arnie was cool. I think it was okay. This is one of the few instances where you have an idea and it sounds cool, and you really like the idea of like an older version of Arnold Schwarzenegger just trying to defeat a very younger version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That sounds like fun. And then once you see it on screen, it looks pretty silly and slow, and that's how I felt when watching that scene in the movie. I didn't think it was that awesome. Arnold Schwarzenegger is still great in the role. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's kind of like gotten out of it a little bit. Actually, in Dark Fate, he wasn't that bad in that one, so I give him kudos in that film. But in this one, Genisys, it's always cool to see the guy doing other stuff because I always loved him in these 80s to 90s action films, but this one, he felt really awkward. I mean, I'm always gonna like the guy, but he didn't felt as awesome as I used to watch him in, like, you know, Terminator or the Terminator 2 or even in Kindergarten Cop. Those movies felt like he was represented as someone who was naturally cool and awesome and also naturally funny. This one, it felt like they're trying hard for him to be cool and to be funny, and he can kind of pull it off, but you can still sense that a lot more than you do with the films in the past. This comment said better than Salvation, and he went into further detail saying, I thought Salvation was a completely missed opportunity, and admittedly I like the futuristic setting. I felt it was a bit flat overall. Arnold's return sold me on this. The older T-800 was a much more interesting concept, and while Jai Courtney's performance of Kyle Reese was pretty dire, I enjoyed this one a lot. Only negative was the big twist was ruined in the trailer. I think I can understand what the guy's talking about. In older T-800, for me, it's less epic and cool, but could it be more interesting? It could be. A character can be awesome by making them have a complete story arc through their actual journey. That's what made Sarah Connor awesome from the first Terminator movie into Terminator 2. I don't agree with that with the T-800 though, because the T-800 isn't necessarily supposed to have any kind of story or background. It's just that he is a machine, and the only thing that makes him really cool was when he had that whole relationship with John Connor, because that relationship between T-800 and John Connor made sense. This one with him and Sarah Connor, I really didn't like it. I thought it was just really, there's no better word for it, just stupid. Honestly, there's a lot of good to be said about this movie, in my opinion. The action is on point, the fights are well choreographed, the special effects are neat, the return of the bumbling police officer who's been chasing conspiracy theories for years, Arnie's wisecracking, definitely an enjoyable movie. That's not to say it's on a level with T1 and T2, of course, and it definitely has its fair share of cons as well. The technical aspect, I think that this guy is correct. So I do believe that if you're looking for, you know, decent action, this movie would not be that bad for some people, because I do love watching the Terminator movies for their awesome action sequences. It isn't just for that though, but that is part of the reason why those movies are really cool, in my opinion. I don't remember the action being that great. I remember it being a little boring though, because every single time there is a car chase in a Terminator movie, it's always entertaining and so fun to watch. It's the best part of the movie, in my opinion. This car chase scene was severely lacking any kind of entertainment or thrill. It felt predictable, like you knew that people were going to come out okay and everything was going to be fine. and no consequences were added in here. Although, I am kind of a sucker for J.K. Simmons, so I guess I kind of enjoyed seeing him in this film. Best use of time travel in the franchise: compelling, fleshed out Kyle Reese, a great dynamic between Sarah and T8. No, I can't agree with that. A vicious, relentless Skynet given corporeal form and identity as true villain. Okay, actually, I do remember this. When I walked out of the theater, I said, like, the whole idea of Skynet in Terminator Genisys, I liked it. It was something intriguing and new for the Terminator franchise, and I thought it was something that kept me on my interest when watching the film, so I can agree with that comment. Don't agree with the T-800 and Sarah Connor bit. It just, I don't know. I can't see that happening with the two of them. I will give it credit, like, if they wanted to pay more attention towards the character of Kyle Reese, I mean, that's a good thing, because they didn't really focus that much of the character in the first Terminator movie. It was mostly focused on Sarah Connor. But the thing is that the first Kyle Reese in the first movie felt a lot more memorable. In this one, I don't remember this version of Kyle Reese at all. He kind of just felt flat and forgettable. It was a learning tool for Dark Fate. There's a little more added in there. I thought that the guy was basically doing sarcasm, but he went into a little more description saying, it's a little snarky, but it's not sarcasm. In my opinion, Dark Fate was better than Genisys. Dark Fate had the OG cast and didn't mess up the John Connor character too badly. I hate what they did to John Connor in Genisys. It made no sense. That seems to be an interesting debate that we're having here, like, which John Connor was delivered worse? Like, was it delivered worse in Genisys or Dark Fate? Because some people didn't like what happened at the beginning of Dark Fate, while other people really didn't like what happened in the movie Genisys. It seems like that some people would pick either or. Which risk do I think was worse, Genisys or Dark Fate? I think I'm gonna lean in more towards Genisys. Dark Fate had more opportunities to play into something on what they could have done. Genisys, if you understand the character of John Connor and what he's supposed to mean, what he did at Genisys, I don't understand why. I mean, it's risky, but it also feels contradicting. The best part was when I got to finish the film, and then I could finally rest. And obviously a joke, and with that being said, that is the entire video, ladies and gentlemen. The devil's advocate of Terminator Genisys. I hope you guys actually got something from this video. There were some things that I was trying to agree on in some sides where I'm like, I understand what they're talking about, but in general, I do think that Terminator Genisys, in my opinion, is the worst Terminator movie out of the franchise. So, yeah, not necessarily a fan of this one. It didn't really change my mind about how I feel of the movie, but I like seeing some of the positivity that did come from the comments that I looked at on my Instagram posts. But what do you guys think of Terminator Genisys? Do you actually have any positives that you want to say about this movie, or do you actually agree with what I say and you didn't necessarily like how this movie was executed? Put them down in the comment section below and let's have a conversation about it. And like this video if you agree with what I say, or dislike this video if you disagree with what I say. I don't mind the dislikes. So that is it I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be sure to see you in the next video.